everyone. This is Jeff Dedrick, and I have Willi Crawford on the line today. How are you doing, Willie?
I'm doing great, Jeff. And you?
All right. I am doing great also. I'm really looking forward to this call. I'll quickly go over, Willie, what I'd like us to talk about. Really, I want to be asking you a lot of questions on relationships with your list, how you've been able to create this relationship. Be it a character, I want to get into that. Maybe what you're portraying to the Internet community is maybe a little different than maybe how you really are. I want to really find out if this has been an active thing that you've tried to accomplish, or if it just happened on its own. And then after that, I'm going to be asking some other questions about things like the most effective ways you found to build your list. I want to talk about your cooking niche, the differences building a list within that niche. Also, then maybe at the end, if we have time, the most successful affiliate marketing campaigns that you've done. And I also don't want this just to be me asking you questions. We're going to have this is going to be a little different, where we're going to bounce back and forth, and Willie's going to be asking me questions also on these topics that I'm going to be talking about. Does that sound okay to you?
It sounds great to me.
All right, great. Well, why don't you start off? First, for those people that are listening, I know that I think you've invited a few people from your list, and I have a group listening live from my list, and then, of course, this is going to be part of a course that I'm going to be rolling out here real soon. But for both of us, we're going to spend maybe just a minute giving a quick overview of our online history, or whatever you want to call it, our bio, and then maybe why should people listen. So why don't you start that off, Willie? Well, tell a little bit about yourself, and why should people be listening to you?
Okay. Well, in terms of Internet years, I'm one of the dinosaurs, which means I guess I'm pretty close to extinction. But I came online back in 1995, actually, when I was working at a job with the military in Hawaii, and we were in an office where we had networked Macintosh computers. I had access to the early Internet, and I just started looking around. I was sort of thinking about leaving the military and was looking for what could I do when I leave, or if I didn't leave, what could I do that was portable, what kind of a business could I start. And in 96, they moved me from Hawaii to Alaska, and I really, really got into it there. Started building my first website, started subscribing to every newsletter I could find, printing them out, and I was flying across the Pacific Ocean at the time. That was my job, fly between Alaska and Japan, the Philippines, Thailand, places like that. And so very often on those 10-hour flights or whatever, I'd be reading in-flight stuff about Internet marketing I'd printed out from some of the earlier Internet marketers, and that's how I learned a lot of Internet marketing. There wasn't a 1/100th the information that there is available now, but I gradually started listening to them tell me to find a niche, a group of people that had something in common, and set up a website that targeted those people, and I chose the cooking niche almost as on just pull something out of thin air, and people started bonding with me, and before I knew it, I had them asking me for a product. I wrote a cookbook, and I started talking about the success I was having with that cookbook on Internet marketing forums, and that's when I got noticed by the Internet marketing crowd and was invited to speak at a seminar back in December of 2002, which was the first seminar I ever went to. And I was a speaker, and I loved it so much that I decided I was going to host my own, and 4 months later I hosted my own first seminar, and all of a sudden I was an Internet marketing rock star, and that's my story.
Well, that was, you moved pretty quick after that first time on stage. Congratulations.
Decisive. So once I decided to do something, people, I sent someone an email saying, why don't we do this or that as a project, and by the time they get back with, yes, I like the idea, I'm as likely as not to say, great, I've already registered a domain and have set up a date to do it.
Yeah, that's one of the common things that I see is people that take, massive, quick action. Those tend to be the ones that tend to succeed. The people that are timid and they hold back and they want everything to be perfect, their success usually takes a while for them to achieve.
Or they roll out their project or get ready to roll out only to discover the week before that someone else has, quote, unquote, stolen their idea, and it was just that someone else noticed the same problem at the same time and was faster to the punch.
Yeah, that is true. I've rolled out products, and I've had many marketers email me and go like, dude, I just thinking about this. They'll show me domains they had registered, but they had just never gotten on it. My last project, I had 4 different people email me 3 of them already had domains of very similar product. I just happened to kind of jump on it before them.
Yeah, what you have to realize is that if you notice a problem out there, particularly in internet marketing where lots of people have problems, lots of people will think, well, the solution is obvious to a lot of people, so there's lots of really smart people working on the same idea that you have probably, and you can't afford to think about it too long.
Yep, I totally agree. Well, a little bit about myself. The 1-minute quick bio is I've been in business for myself for, it's I would say 20 years, but unfortunately it's going on close to 25 now. In college, I had my own business. Right out of college, we opened, myself and a business partner, we opened up restaurants. So we had 5 of those. Some of them also included the real estate, and we had to buy the land and put up the building themselves. One even had a rental. So we had 5 restaurants. One of them very successful. The one was 4 of the stores were in a pizza chain, Little Caesars Pizzas. There was at the time over 4,000 stores in the chain, and one of our stores was number 3 in the country. And so I've got tons of experience in real world businesses. As we sold those off, myself and that same business partner, Mark, we purchased 2 fitness clubs. And at some point, I just got bored with the fitness clubs. I love them. I'm still a member. I should say a free member as part of the deal. But I just caught myself going in, and because I was trying to learn how to market to my current fitness members, I figured out the whole thing about, I had no clue about how to, autoresponders and all that stuff. And I just started learning more and more, and I caught myself going in. I'd pop open my computer, and I would be doing internet marketing stuff and not the gym stuff. So the day that I didn't want to go into work, I'd never felt that in my life. And the feeling was still there 2 weeks later. I think I waited another week because it was Christmas, and I didn't want to kind of screw up my partner's Christmas. So I told Mark at that about 3-week mark that, God, I just don't feel it. I want to do something different. So within a month, I was sold out to him. So just he and his wife own that business now. I'm free and clear of that, and I'm 100%. I jumped 100% online before I even had my first subscriber or my first website or anything. I just knew I could take my knowledge of business and transfer it over. And since then, I've rolled out many different sites. I've built a bunch of different lists. I've got a bunch of different membership sites, and I'm just continuing to give people what they need. So that's my quick bio.
Yeah, you sound a lot like me. And that day you went in and decided you didn't want to work anymore. My last assignment was in Florida, and I'd sit in my office testing computer software for the military and look out the window thinking, man, I don't really want to be here. I felt so chained to that desk that I just knew that it was time for me to leave, and so I did, But I retired, so even if I never work another day in my life, I'll still have money coming in, so it wasn't like but I stepped out of a military job right into 6 figures, too, so it was no transition,
Yeah, and I definitely recommend people not to follow my advice and kind of quit your job. I obviously got a good payoff for the ownership part of it, so I had a lot to live on. It took me a full year. I continued to learn, and it took me a full year until I launched my first big site. So, I definitely recommend not doing that. Well, let's get into this, Willie.
Okay.
Most people know me for my calls, and I try to get right to the good information as quick as possible. I want to ask you about this relationship that you've created, or over time it's just happened. How important do you feel that now, this relationship you formed with your list, how important is that in your business?
I think that's probably the number one factor to my success. At the very first seminar that I hosted, I had Stephen Pierce, and he was talking about relationships, but he was talking also about proof of everything that you say to your customers, and that was so hammered into me. And I was also taught that it really is important that you really, really care about your customers because they can sense it. And so I actually adopted the motto of no man has the right to play with another man's dreams. And I try to make sure that everything I do online, I'm a marketer. I'm in it to make money, yes, but I'm in it to also make sure that whatever I tell my list members about can really, improve their lives. And so I think that they sense that I really care about them, and that's one of my secrets.
Yeah, it seems like you have, you're one of the, are you an actual one of the, in the Warrior Forum, are you one of the moderators in there? Or
I was one of the moderators for the longest time, and then I resigned. And actually when I resigned, Alan, who was the owner, ignored my first couple of emails saying I was resigning to him, so I had to announce publicly in order to make it official. But even there, I volunteered to be a moderator because I knew that was a credential. I knew that if I could become an authority figure, a leader of a community of about 80,000, that in itself would propel my online career. So even that was a part of my relationship building strategy of being identified as one of the leaders of one of the largest online internet marketing communities online. And it worked. People from that look up to you. People like to be associated with winners, with leaders, and so that was one of the things I deliberately did to position myself as one of the leaders.
Yeah, I definitely was wondering about that because I've seen that you've also have a mass amount of posts. How many posts?
About 8,600 or so. That
Wow.
took me a couple of days.
Well, yeah. Let me ask you this: when did you get started in the Warrior Forum, and at what point did you become a moderator, and then for how long?
I want to say I became a member of the Warrior Forum around maybe 2002 or so. The forum started long ago, and it was actually a gathering place for spammers where they shared tools that were used for harvesting email addresses and spam and stuff like that. And by the time I joined, they had cleaned up that portion of the act. In fact, it was almost forbidden to mention spam because we were trying to change the image. But I joined and just hung out for a while. I think it wasn't until around 2005 maybe that I suggested to the owner that I become a moderator. And he basically told me to discuss it with one of the other moderators, who was Paul Myers, and that if, after listening to Paul describe what he did, I really wanted a job, I'd had it. So that's how I became a moderator. I'm fairly certain it was around 2005, and it was a really, really busy job. I mean, I'd log in, and there'd be hundreds of posts sometimes waiting for moderation, and so it was a lot of work, but again, it let me connect, and we're talking about building relationships, it let me connect with those members who were my ideal subscribers, and so it made perfect sense to me at the time.
And how long were you that moderator?
I lasted for about 2 years, and then I realized I had, first of all, accomplished my objective, which is to establish myself as an authority figure with that market, and also that it was taking up more time than I had available, and that wasn't the best use of my time. So I resigned, and again, Alan ignored my email until I posted right on the main forum that I'd resigned, and then he had to acknowledge it.
Well, what other things similar to that have you done to, position yourself or to create that relationship? Are you a part of any other, groups? What else have you done?
I'd say the biggest thing that makes me a known quantity is I've written over 1,100 articles on Internet marketing, on all aspects of Internet marketing, and I've just created such a tremendous amount of content that it shocks me when I go to a seminar or a conference and someone I've never met, who's not even a subscriber, will come up to me and say, I've read, lots of your articles for years, and so that connects. And then I do have subscribers who've been on my list 5, 7 years, and so I've published a newsletter since year one, or since maybe my second year, and so I've done that too. And at times that newsletter was going out daily. So I was in constant contact with people, and I did really share a lot of great information. I believe that, well, I know that knowledge is growing exponentially, so you and I could really tell people every single thing that we know, and unless we're, completely clamped down, we're going to learn new stuff anyway, so it's not like, it's impossible to teach everything you know, and so I don't have a problem with giving out a lot of free content to prove I know what I'm doing, because there are a lot of gurus who don't really know what they're doing. They're teaching something they haven't done, That's where you and I differ. You have that real-world experience of running a business, which most Internet marketers don't have, and you walk the walk. And so we have to, because there's so much doubt in our community, you do have to prove that you know what you're talking about in order to really connect with your audience. And I do that by giving out a lot of great free content.
Wow, 1,100 articles. Are those primarily on your blog, or are you also submitting those to article directories?
They were all published in my newsletter or on my blog, or at one time before I had the blog, I had just a web page on my main site that had articles on it. And I submit to 4 or 5, 3 different article submission services plus a number of high-ranked article directories. So they're all out there. I don't think any directory online has more than about 300 of my articles, though. Places like ezinearticles.com, they go through and they call the articles from time to time. So if there's a broken link or something, they'll delete the article from their directory.
Yeah, what type of, any idea, do you do a good job of tracking? I'm wondering how much traffic are you getting or subscribers are you getting from those old articles?
My best article was one called Amazing Secrets of a Traffic Generation Expert. That article was written to sell John Reese's Traffic Secrets 1, and that article basically showed how I generate traffic. So I provided actual examples of my rankings in Google and stuff like that for some of my top keywords, and so it provided irrefutable proof that I knew how to generate traffic. And I forget the name of it was one e-zine that published it that 100,000 webmasters supposedly subscribed to, and that e-zine generated, 3,500 or so new subscribers for me within like a month. But it also, I made from that article about 10 grand in direct sales, and I could track to it too. So it was very effective. But again, it was on a topic that lots of people care about, which is getting more traffic, and then I provided proof, and then I, on the back end, recommended what was then, I think, a $2,000 product. No, actually, it was a $1,000 product. And so it was just easy. But that one article made me over 10 grand and generated 3,500 in subscribers, and I don't know how many visitors. I mean, I stopped tracking it, but it was huge.
Wow, nice payday for a one article.
For one article, it took me 30 minutes to write it. I looked at my keywords, things like Southern Fried Chicken and a few others. I Googled them and said, wow, I'm number 2 for Southern Fried Chicken, ahead of Kentucky Fried Chicken at the time. And so I just made a few notes and pushed the article out there, and it just took off.
Well, what about going beyond articles? I know that you have is it Blog Talk Radio? Is that where you have a show at?
Yeah, I have a radio show at blogtalkradio.com/Willi Crawford, and that's, again, a part of my strategy of offering amazing free content to my listeners. And the thing about the radio show is it costs me nothing more than an hour, or maybe you can do shows ranging from 15 minutes to 2 hours, so it costs me just my time. All the content is really other people's content. For example, recent shows or upcoming shows will have people like Mari Smith, will have Yarrow Stark, it'll have some eBay power sellers, and so I get these people to share what they do, and they deliver incredible content, and that, again, continues to bond me with my readers, but it's not even my knowledge. It's just making the medium available so that people can learn. And I'm shocked when I get notes saying, I can't believe you revealed all that information, when I didn't reveal anything. It was my guest that revealed it, you know.
Yeah, I totally feel that, how you're hitting the audio. I also feel that, video is very important. I feel that putting a picture on, your web pages or wherever it may be is very important in the whole relationship branding. I know that most of the marketers, say before I've met them, but most of the marketers that I felt connected with, I had seen them in these different, I of course saw the picture, and then I heard maybe interviews, and then I saw videos. It's like each time you get to know them a little better in your own mind. It's really weird. People have that connection. I don't know why, but I know there's some marketers that I've never seen a picture of them and maybe barely ever heard them talk, and you don't have that same connection. Then, for example, when I saw your picture and I've heard your audios before we met, I felt like I some way knew you before I actually knew you.
Yeah, I back in around 98 or 99, I was hanging out on a discussion forum with my friend Wanda Loscott, and she pushed me to stick my picture on my website. She was pushing all of her forum members who were discussing different strategies to put their picture on their website. And she said that there are people who won't like you because of the way you look, your age, your color, your hairstyle, maybe you wear some religious headgear, whatever. And she said, those aren't your customers. Those aren't your market. So it doesn't matter. She says what matters is that there are people who will look at your picture, and because you look like their grandfather, their uncle, their mother, brother, sister, whatever, they will connect with you. And she said, so it's important to let people know who you really are. And then I had another coach who just emphasized that so much that I actually wrote a biography called Get Off the Porch, where I share much of my life story, including trials. I had not legal trials, but a struggle with an addiction, for example. And people read that stuff and so connect with you that they think, well, if this person lets me know who they are, they aren't hiding behind anything, those people trust you. I have people who call me on the phone and say, I want your product. And I say, what product? And they go, well, what do you recommend? And, dentists and chiropractors and people like that just have a lot of money. They want to invest in something to sort of shelter it, and so they want to know how they get started online, and they want me to coach them. And that's the kind of trust you get when you let people know you enough to feel that you're trustworthy.
Well, you mentioned about bringing up personal stuff. Do you do that very often? Do you feel that's really important in this whole relationship thing, or do you recommend people not bring up personal information?
I think it's important to let people know you. I think it's also important to use good judgment. For example, if I'm selling a service that's, say, a web hosting service, and I'm asking you to trust me to host your website, then I don't need to tell you that I'm filing bankruptcy because you're thinking, okay, so you want me to trust my business, my website's on your server, and you're telling me you might not be in business tomorrow. And I see people do that. So I think certain things you can share with people don't help your cause. They cause you to lose credibility. At the same time, showing people that you are human and have weaknesses, showing people that you have children or grandchildren, showing people your pets, things that they can connect with is a good thing. It's just my military background, in that we had a concept called the need to know, where you basically only told people things they needed to know, and I see too many people sharing the wrong things. How can you position yourself as an expert on something, a successful business person, if you're telling people you're struggling to make money? So you don't need to fake it. I don't think. I remember asking my friend Rich Sheffer, and I said, a lot of people are faking it until they make it. How do you get around that? And Rich said, just be your authentic self and choose something that you really are an expert in or can become an expert in, and then you don't need to fake it because people do see through that. And so, yeah, you need to tell people things about you, be transparent, but consider whether or not it's going to hurt your business before you do it. Because I see people that I want to smack when they post certain things on discussion forums where it's indexed by the search engine and they're saying they're struggling. And say you hosted an autoresponder service. You're then asking me to build my business, my database around your service, and you're telling me that you're struggling. So I'm thinking, okay, so I'm going to trust my business with you when you're not confident in your own survival, And so my database may be gone next year or next month. It's just judgment.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like when I obviously don't talk about really personal stuff, but just like you said, it's good to bring up that you have kids or that, it's almost people are so into this soap opera, reality TV type stuff that they want to keep up on your life for whatever reason. They want to hear the personal stuff. I know that some of the emails that I've sent out to my list, the ones that get the biggest response, isn't to questions about how their business is and struggles they're having in their business. It's like just non-business stuff. They're emailing me about. If I mention my kids and stuff that's going on, they're emailing me about their kids, and they're replying back with their personal information when I'm talking about personal information. So, yeah, I also feel that bringing up personal stuff where, you've got to be selective what you talk about, but I think that is very important.
I think what we lose sight of is we make list building a numbers game, And yet, people like Dan Kennedy teach you that you'd rather have a list of just 100 people who spend, say, $10,000 a year with you than 100,000 people who, spend 50 cents or $1 a year with you on average. So it's not really a numbers game. It's connecting with those people that are more your ideal subscribers and customers. But it is a numbers game in that you have to go through a lot of people to find those people, but you can't find them unless you let them connect with you. So it's a matter of, to an extent, dropping your shields and letting people get to you, and you're not hiding behind that computer screen.
Now, well, let's go right into your cooking niche. The relationship that you form with that group is obviously going to be, well, you tell me, is it different than what you form with internet marketing, your internet marketing list?
It isn't different, really, because they feel they know me. My cooking niche, I put up a website following all of the internet marketing principles I was taught about building a list, about giving them content that's very focused and all that. And what they taught me was actually the only time I should contact them is about cooking. For example, if I send an email out, a solo mailing that mentions insurance or a seminar or something like that, they very quickly start emailing me back saying, we don't want to hear about that. Don't send us that, or stop spamming me. But if I tell them about a new cookbook I came across or something like that, they thank me for it, even though I'm trying to sell it to them. So what they taught me was, when you're building a list, people join your list for a very specific reason, and you need to always keep that reason in mind, and most of your communications with them needs to stay on topic. And as long as you do that, they connect with me. With my cooking list, I tell them I grew up on a farm in North Carolina, that I learned to cook with my grandmother. I describe the foods, the smells, the relationships in the community and things like that. And that lets the people connect with me. And what it does is it lets those people who grew up in the same environment, the same background, feel like they really, really know me. And those people don't just order one of my cookbooks. They order 10 or 15 for Christmas presents. And so it's the same principle, that people feel like they really know you and they trust you.
Now, do you also tell them about some of your personal stuff, your past your past information? I mean, you talked about, the cooking aspect of it, but do you get into, your military stories, stuff like that?
My cookbook has an About the Author section that gets into some of that, and on my site I also have an About the Author section that pictures me and my family, and it gives some information, but it's mostly why I'm qualified to teach you about cooking. And so I don't get that much into it. When I first came online and I was still in the military, I actually was in the military my first 6 years that I was online, and I didn't talk about it much because I felt it might make me a target for people who targeted the military or wanted to get even with us for whatever, because the U.S. sort of acts like the world's police, and at any given time there's a lot of little skirmishes going on around the world. And so I didn't see the military aspect of it as being relevant to my running a business. So I didn't mention that very often. And it was also what they call operational security issue. If you mention that you're in a certain place or doing a certain thing, then that's also revealing what that military unit's doing, where they're at and what they're doing. So I just had to use my judgment there. And so I didn't mention it to my cooking list or to my internet marketing list, really. And most people didn't know that I was in the military. I'd actually hosted my first seminar, put on a seminar and everything before I retired from the military. So it was, and yet most people probably had no clue I was in the military at that time.
How different is it building a list in internet marketing compared to cooking?
It's not very different at all, except cooking. My list in cooking is built by my members. Each issue of my newsletter has a little note saying, please send in your favorite recipes or requests for recipes, and please forward this to some of your friends. And they do that. And so a lot of subscribers come to us because of their friends forwarding issues of the newsletter. And at the same time, we get a lot of emails saying, please add me to your list. And we have to say, we can't do that. That's, against canned spam. So you have to go and subscribe on your own. Use the link your friend sent us. So the difference is we do get a lot higher percentage of people subscribing on recommendations, whereas that could happen in internet marketing too. and I was even trained that you should, in many of your newsletters, ask your subscribers to forward copies and to ask their friends to subscribe, but I don't do that as often as I should.
What about the mailing schedules? Do you mail the list, the amount, per week? Is it different within the
My cooking list is emailed every day. But see, that list it writes itself. It's the members creating the content. All I do is I'm the brand behind it, and that's another thing. Is my picture eventually became like a brand. I had a picture that was about 10 years old, and I used it forever, and it's still all over the internet. People saw that, and that was sort of who they identified with, both my internet marketing sites and my cooking sites, and so they just got used to seeing that. But they wrote the content, they created the content, and all I did was plug my name onto it and put a quote-unquote sponsor ad at the top and the bottom of each issue. So the cooking newsletter really was just for me to sell my cookbook or related products, and the subscribers are the ones who perpetuate it and grow it with very little effort on my part. I mean, I have on my cooking websites an opt-in form on practically every page except for my sales pages, but a lot of the subscribers still, probably 10 to 15%, come from friends forwarding issues to each other.
Can I ask you how big your lists are? Would you share that?
My database is approaching 700,000, which is huge. I'm on the one shopping cart system, which charges you based on the size of your database, except I have a special arrangement with them of sorts because I'm a private labeler, which means I paid to have my own brand, which is the ProfitAutomation.com brand. And once you go above 10,000, there's a price, and then it jumps again at 25 and 50 and 100,000. I think at 200,000 your next break point. My internet marketing list is right at 100. My internet marketing database is right at 160,000. They're on a lot of different sub-lists. And but I have lists in alternative health and fitness and pets and the martial arts and a lot of different topics like that, things that are sort of, the law of attraction or the law of expectation. A lot of topics that, a lot of my lists are from sites that I put up a web page, a single web page or maybe a blog or something, and put up an opt-in form and do very little with it after that, and it just grows on its own because I systematize everything. I teach people that when you put up that website and you put an opt-in form, you build in enough autorespond to follow-up messages to encourage people to do the things that it takes to grow the list on its own. And so I set up a lot of things where they require very little hands-on afterwards, so that I can manage such a huge database.
Profitability-wise, which market are you finding is more profitable?
Lately, I would say the real estate market. I actually am helping a friend to roll out a $2,000 teleseminar series that teaches people how to buy and sell land for $100. Basically finding land that people want to get rid of using the internet and then taking it off their hands, sometimes even for free, and then turning around and reselling it for thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. I have a friend who's done that over 2,000 times. And so when I with that $2,000 teleseminar, I'm earning, 40% commission or something whenever I refer somebody to his teleseminar. So it doesn't take a lot of sales for something like that to be extremely profitable. And I'm in a lot of things like that. So internet marketing I do okay at, but a lot of other niches are actually more profitable. Internet marketing, it's only when I do the really big ticket things, like you and I both did well with Jeff Walker's recent launch and things like that. But I roll out a lot of my own products in internet marketing that are smaller products that are designed really to be list builders. And I'm not shooting to make a lot of money off those. I'm shooting to get a lot of proven buyers onto my list because you ask about the size of my database. My internet marketing list, it's huge, but it's not 1/10 as responsive as it was 3 years ago. So numbers mean very little there to me. I find they do matter because with all things being equal, but it's really the quality of the list. And again, that goes back to the relationships you have with the list. I'm sure a lot of my list members signed up and they joined 100 other lists, and so some read everything I send and some don't.
Yeah, I'm finding that lists just burn out over time. I know that people are busy, so they're maybe not paying attention to that account anymore where they signed up, say, 2 years ago, or they've deleted it and they don't even, or don't even go there and take a look anymore. People drop out of internet marketing. So I'm finding that you've got that churn and burn where you've got to constantly be keeping up on the list building. And I know that I jumped into some other niches and I wasn't really paying attention to my list building efforts during 2007, and it really hurt. I really saw my response to my emails and my click-throughs and eventually the actual commissions really dropped off. That was one thing that really surprised me. So I'm making a big effort in the last 7, 8, 9 months to recharge that internet marketing list, to set up systems similar to your article system where you've got constant subscribers coming on your list each and every day. And we're really making a huge effort to systematize, you mentioned that earlier, systematize every single thing in our office. We're recording every single thing we do. So at any point,
Excellent.
If we have to hire a new employee, if we have to give a job to a different person, if we have to outsource it to another company or wherever in the world, we've got everything documented, listed, all the trainings done, so we can quickly just pass it off to someone else.
Yeah, and I've talked to many internet marketers in particular who've noticed that they do need more subscribers, that their lists aren't as responsive as they used to be. So I think it's industry-wide, and I think part of it is just that there's so many more people out there building lists, and so a lot of our potential subscribers are already on so many lists that's what makes it really critical that you connect with them on a deeper level, so that when they look in their inbox and there's 100 different email newsletters somehow, that they look for yours. They recognize your name and read yours just because it's yours. And that's another thing is you need to make it easy for your subscribers to recognize your newsletter so they get used to looking for your name in their inbox. I firmly believe that you need to either put your name or use the same verbiage to let them know who that email is from every time, because I typically, when I read my email, look at first who it's from, then at the subject.
Yeah, I totally agree. Every time someone gets an email from me in the last 18 months, it's always going to say Jeff Dedrick at, then the name of the the place where they signed up at, or I'm trying to use my full name because same thing. I know there's good friends of mine that I delete their emails accidentally all the time because I don't realize it's from them. Or I'll go back I've deleted the same email from some place for a month or 2 months, and then I eventually open it up. I'm like, oh, that's his his newsletter. I've been skipping it for 2 months, but I was actually interested, wanting to read it. So you need a brand. Well, what about forum posts? Do you recommend everyone use their full names for forums, or
I do. I think that a lot of people they're concerned about maybe privacy issues and things like that. But when I'm posting to a forum, I'm thinking some of these people are people who have the potential to spend thousands of dollars with me. I offer products that range from free up to $25,000, and so and there are people who have no problem with spending $5,000, $10,000 on a product. Those people want to know who they're dealing with. So when I sign up for a forum, I fill out my full profile to include my name and a picture and a link to my website. And when I go to a forum like the Warrior Forum and I see a comment by someone that I'm even thinking about having a relationship with, first thing I do is click on their profile. And if there's no link to their website, I don't waste my time, because there's so many people who are trolls. They're just out fishing for reactions, and they're tremendous time wasters. I value my time too much, and I think that if you were running an offline business as a doctor or a lawyer, you certainly wouldn't. You post your name on your sign outside. You let people know who they're dealing with.
Well, staying on relationships, what's something that we haven't touched on that you can think of right now? What's something that's very important that the people that are listening should do to help create this relationship with their list?
Well, I think that it's, who was it? Stephen Pierce once quoted Mary Kay Ash from Mary Kay Cosmetics as saying that most people walk around with invisible signs around their necks that say, "Tell me I'm important." And, we're one of millions, in this country, and online we're one of millions, and so we don't want to be perceived as just a number, just a subscriber. We want to know that you're talking directly to me, and so I think it's the relationship building is going out of your way to actually connect with people one-on-one, and again, that's hard to do when you have a huge database, but you do it by paying attention to those people who stand out as your real customers, I guess, because it's impossible to have an ongoing conversation with everybody, but there are certain people who raise their hands and say, "I'm your ideal customer," and those people you need to focus on, and they'll shock you when they start spending $1,000 a month with you or whatever.
Great. Well, I've got some bonus questions I want to ask you. And
okay, since I haven't asked very many, have I?
Oh, well, we're going back and forth. Plus, this stuff is where you're an expert is the relationship stuff. So that's just great, the information you've given so far. I was just rereading Robert Cialdini's Influence book just yesterday.
Okay.
And, he's talking, one of the chapters is about liking. Just like you said, people want to like you. What is it, Joe Girard, the famous car salesman?
Right.
He was selling 5 cars. I think he's in the Guinness Book of World Record. He's 12 years in a row all-time, leading car salesman in the country or in the world, maybe even, selling up to 5 cars or more per day on the average. His biggest thing is 2 things. You give people a good deal, and you get people to like you.
And what did he do? He sent people greeting cards, remember their birthdays and anniversaries, things like that,
Yeah, he would just send cards and just say, basically, yeah, you're important, I like you. I mean, that would be it. So that's all part of this relationship building is you want people to connect with you, to have that interconnection, to like you, and then you follow up with great information and great recommendations, and they'll buy from you.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking list building, but we're building those lists in order to make sales, and people buy from people they know, like, and trust. If 3 people sent me an email on a product today, and I really wanted the product, and I noticed that there was 3 emails in my inbox, I'm going to buy from my friend, all things being equal. That's just a fact of life, or somebody I really like. And, I may even, if they're offering bonuses, I may compare bonuses, but I may still lean more towards buying from my friend. So it is important for people to feel like they know you and for you to allow them to like you. And they can't like you if they don't know anything about you. I mean, you're just a name. There are people who will be enamored because of who you are. You become such an icon that maybe they'll buy from you because you are Frank Kern or John Reese or whatever, and there it is because everybody loves a winner, loves being associated with a winner. So, you think and you also understand the law of reciprocity. So you think, well, if I buy from this person, later on when I need a favor, they may buy from me or they may remember my name or whatever. And so it's there. Even there, it's trying to build a connection that you can extract something from later on. But you have to let people actually get to like you by letting them know who you are and being somewhat accessible. That's tough because when we get so many subscribers, you do need to somehow screen who reaches you at the same time. So it's a balancing act, and most of us don't do very well at that.
Yeah, and then there's so many other things. The whole idea of developing a character, Frank Kern teaches that. he's the master of that. You know, people feel that they know him because he's got this character. He's this, you know, now surfer dude out in San Diego. But, you know, if you knew Frank from 3 years ago, he wasn't that surfer dude because he was out in what, Georgia, right?
He was out in Georgia and looked like a country bumpkin.
He still had the wacky sense of humor, but he's since taken that, you know, that slacker. I guess he kind of had that slacker, I don't like working, you know, underachiever thing going back in Georgia, but he's really taken that character to the next level. You know, that character is him, but he really plays up on it. He really, you know, he shows it. He shows videos. He talks it up. So yeah, that's and then the little mini Kern, Jason Moffat, he's doing the similar thing. You know, he's you know, the surfer guy down there and having fun and screwing off, and you know, the kind of the younger version of the Kern.
Yeah, I know, and the outrageous videos of medical exams and stuff like that. And so it's to you do have to stand out in the marketplace. I mean, I don't know how many people are publishing internet marketing newsletters and how many affiliates you'll have for certain promotions, but you have to have some way of people remembering you so that, I mean, when I hear the name Frank Kern or Jason Moffat, if I hear Jason's name, I'm thinking he's got something outrageous. Okay, let me read his email just to see what outrageous he's doing. I mean, I know he knows his stuff. He produces quality material. He's an excellent marketer, but I know he's going to present himself in an outrageous way. And out of curiosity, I'll open his email to see what he's up to.
Yeah, me too, yep.
So you need, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to go on to the next question. Go ahead and follow up.
Yeah, I was just going to say you need to somehow distinguish yourself in the marketplace. You have to decide how you're going to do that, but you can't be just me too. And, in fact, copywriters teach you that you have to actually get the market emotionally charged. They either have to really like you or really hate you, but if they're neutral, they won't do anything. And so even if they dislike you, they'll buy from you a lot of time. They won't know why they're buying, but it's because when they hear your name or read your email, they get agitated, and that produces chemicals that make them want to do something.
That's a great point. They did when they figure out Howard Stern, you know, he's totally, you either love him or hate him. There's hardly any people that don't have an opinion on him and maybe Rush Limbaugh, but I know that for Howard Stern, the people that hate him, they found that those people, they are still listening, and they tend to listen longer each part of the day. You know, he's got, whatever, a 4-hour show on. They listen longer than people that like him.
Yeah, they want to have something that they want to hear him say something that they can say is wrong, and so they tune in just to prove their point. And people will buy your product to prove to themselves that it's not what you said it was or something too. I mean, you don't want to do that, but people need to be emotionally, that you need to push their emotional hot buttons somehow in order to get a response out of them.
Yeah, same thing with Fox News. You know, they're not just a news. They're picking one side on their certain shows. They're picking one side or the other, and they're hammering home that point almost to sometimes a ridiculous level, and it totally polarizes their audience. But it gets people to tune in, and they're having record numbers over there, and now other news shows are kind of copying that same format to picking one side, either right or left, and really playing that up.
Right. So news is no longer impartial, totally accurate reporting.
Not at all. Not at all. Well, Willie, I wanted to ask you a few quick questions before we sign off here. The big one, and maybe you've already mentioned it, what's your most effective way to build a list?
My most effective way lately is probably one that you use too, but I like creating short reports that I can sell through affiliates and give the affiliates as much as 100% commission on the front end using something like the Rapid Action Profit script or the $7 secret script. I like RAP better because it lets me do more things on the back end as far as with that list, but I'll create a short report, say 20, 30 pages, and I'll sell it for $5 to $20, and I'll give affiliates 100% of the commission on the front end. My thing there is to get these affiliates going out and putting my name in front of people who've never heard of me before, and then me making the profits on the back end. It's not a model I created. In fact, I think one of the first people I saw use it was Mike Phil-Same, and I watched him teach it to Keith Wellman when Keith got started. Keith, when he built his first list, Mike told him, you'll create a product and you'll give away all the commission, and then you'll make your money in the back end after you've built a list, and that's what Keith did. and he was one of the first people I observed doing that. And so you're building a list that way of proven buyers. It's very highly targeted, and if you sublist, that is, as these people buy your $5 or $10 or $20 ebook, you add them to a specific list within your database. You know what they're interested in, so now you know what type of autoresponder messages, what type of newsletters, what type of products to offer them, and it becomes, those lists are my most responsive list, but it's not one huge database, it's a sub-list.
Yeah, I agree. I totally will launch a product, and my main goal now, lately, has been not to make money. It's mainly to build a list. I come up with a system. You know, by knowing that I want to create a list, that totally changes how you're going through your sales process. How you're offering commissions. It changes how you're maybe collecting, you're giving out your product. The last time I used kind of a butterfly script, so I drove people in first to a free product, and then my affiliates made money on the OTOs and the monthly upsells.
Right.
Yeah, my main goal is to basically almost give away a product to make money in the back end.
Yeah, I mean, in those cases, our affiliates are the ones taking all the risk. They're the ones spending money on pay-per-click advertising, on things like that. So why not reward them? They're doing all the work and building us a list. They're driving, paying, proven customers to us. And to me, it's just a no-brainer to. And it's so easy to create a product that can sell for $5, $10, $20 too. It doesn't have to be some huge book. It can be just a 20-page report. The last one I did, actually I did it through a friend. I emailed and said, I just noticed I've got 7 out of 10 positions on the front page of Google for my keyword. Why don't we do a report on how I did that? And he said, great, how do we do that? And I said, call me up and interview me, asking the questions I give you, and then you can roll it out as a product on the Warrior Special Offers form first, and then from there take it and run with it, and on the back end drive some of those customers to me. So I actually let him build his own list. It's one of many clients that I help to get going by letting them leverage an interview with me, which is interesting. I mean, you could do the same thing. You could take any of your coaching clients and actually, in the process of letting them build a list, build you a list too on the back end, and it's certainly getting your name out there. So I do that probably more often than people realize lately.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I know that I purchased one of your Warrior Special Offers when you, I think it was the one where you sat down and you were interviewed how you kicked butt? Was it for was it the product launch, formula launch, where you had a gentleman interview you and how you did so well in that?
Craig Beckta interviewed me, among others, so it's possible. I did several interviews on that. To me, the easiest, we talk about list building. The easiest way in the world to build lists, and we talk about rolling out quick products, do an interview, you put together a sales page and sell the recordings to the interview. They have a higher perceived value than an ebook, or you have it transcribed and you offer both, and then you roll it out using the same system we just talked about, $7 script, butterfly script, or whatever, and give most of the money to the affiliates on the front end and just build back into the product.
Yes, I totally 100% agree with that.
It's so easy that it's almost effortless now. I don't know whether it's because I've been doing this for 12 years, and so ideas just pop into my head, and I'm as likely as not to email a friend or whatever and say, let's do a radio show, let's do an interview, let's do a product on this topic. And, I'll tell you right now, I'm getting ready to do one on generating traffic from parked domains and making money from just parking your domain. And just here's 20 questions to ask me. Let's do it and roll it out as a product. And I know it'll do well.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you to the punch now.
Anyone that's listening out there, just follow what Willie's talking about. If you're not the expert, then turn it around and you interview an expert, and there's your product.
And if the expert says, why should I do an interview with you, you say, because I'll make you famous. I'll help you to publicize yourself. I'll help you to get exposed to people that you would not have otherwise been exposed to. And, it's just so easy.
Definitely. Well, let's talk about affiliate marketing campaigns. There's all these big launches going on, and you've got hundreds, sometimes a couple hundred affiliates, all trying to get this market to buy through their link. What's been your most successful affiliate marketing campaign up to this point? Did you offer bonuses? Did you pre-sell it? How many times did you mail? Let's get into all that.
My most successful recent one was probably Jeff Walker's product launch formula. Even though I didn't sell a huge number, I was still in the top. When you're talking a $2,000 product or whatever, you don't need to sell a huge number to make a lot of money. But there, I did offer a bonus only because everybody else was offering a bonus, and my bonus was huge too. It was a solo mailing, which was risky because I knew that if I made a lot of sales, I could also burn my list out. And I offered access to both a seminar and I offered a free 1-hour consulting session. But all of those had ulterior motives, which was I was selling a product for $2,000, which means these people are serious business people. They're spending that much money to grow their business. So I want to know what those people are getting ready to launch as products, who those people are. So it was my way of reaching some of those people who weren't on my list, because what I also did was I used all kinds of Web 2.0 techniques to get noticed in the search engines as offering that bonus, and I made sure that most of my search engine listings described my bonus. So when somebody typed in product launch formula bonus, they not only saw my URL, but they read right there in the listings a description of the bonus. And so that was my way of reaching around other people's lists, actually. The people who weren't on my list were then hearing about my offering, and that's why that was so powerful, and that was all planned that way.
How many times did you typically mail out for like a big affiliate promotion like this, a high-ticket item?
7 maybe. It's difficult. If I get enough advance notice, and if the affiliate marketer makes it easy, the product owner makes it easier by giving me excuses such as offering videos filled with content and ebooks filled with content and things like that, then I feel comfortable emailing my list lots of them. I don't want to just send them promotion after promotion after promotion, but if I can say, go look at this video, it teaches you something, and it really does teach something, then it's easy to promote, and I'll mail 6 or 7 times on something like that. If it's just a straight sales pitch, I'll do it once or twice, and even then, often my mailing is an article I write where in the article I describe the problem that the product solves, and then I describe the perfect solution, which is the problem. So they probably send about 5 or 6 mailings for a typical promotion, but a lot of those mailings are articles I write. So my newsletter may say, here's an article I just wrote for you, and that article sells the product, so it's not a solo mailing.
Interesting. That's a good idea. I know that with mine, the last I think the biggest 2 was the first Stomper launch, and then Dr. Mike and Howie Schwartz's Lead Supreme. I made about, 40,000 or a little more than 40,000 for each. It fluctuates because people, if it's a continuity program, they drop off, so then you don't get commissions, 6, 7, 8 months down the road. But about 40,000 each, and the common characteristics was multiple mailings. I didn't just email once. I emailed kind of a pre-selling before the product launched, so a couple of those, and then with Stomper, it shut down pretty quick. So I think I only put in 2 mailings there, or after it launched, maybe 3, because they closed it down right away. Then I think they reopened it, then they closed it down again after a few days. I know with Dr. Mike's, I did a stacking of my bonuses, and I kind of had this planned out ahead of time where I offered a bonus, and then I came back and I offered more, and then I put even more on top of it, and I kept on. It was like a reason for me to mail because I kept giving them more and more and more. And then I would even called up Dr. Mike and Howie, and they said, hey, sales are going great. Can I get interviews with you when they're down there in the seminar, a private interview? And Howie's like, sure. So then I added that at the end. So that was an ongoing, I don't know how many times I mailed, but because it was like a month-long type promo, yeah, I bet you I got up to easily 7 and 8 times, where typically I mail maybe, 3 times during a 7-day promotion and maybe once or twice before during the kind of the pre-selling period. But yeah, that stacked bonuses worked out well. I know with the Stomper, I actually put up a page and I asked people, here's I don't even remember, the 5 different things that I might offer as a bonus. What do you guys want? And it was so all over the board. There were a couple that were kind of a clear-cut winner, but ahead of time I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just offer it all. So no matter what people wanted, they got what they wanted. And then it kind of, the consistency, where the commitment and consistency, where they chose what they wanted and they stated from, in the form what they wanted, well then when I gave it to them, they followed through and they purchased.
And so for the listeners who don't understand that consistency, it's if you ask them what they want and you offer it to them and they don't get it, then there's a disconnect in their subconscious mind, and they'll feel uncomfortable until they follow through on what they said they would do, or what they, it's like if someone says, I'm in favor of an idea, and then that idea is offered to them, they have no choice really but to comply.
Yeah, and that worked pretty well. That was my first big kind of I think affiliate push, where I had everything orchestrated beforehand. I was organized for once, so it worked out really well.
Yeah, you very rapidly rose to the top of the affiliate marketers pack, if you will, and to me it's amazing. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Because there are very few affiliate marketers that compare, and it's interesting to watch the evolution of affiliate marketers. That's a lot of the ones who used to be at the top of the pack are not even heard from anymore.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing. People drop out. I don't know if they're just in other niches where they don't care or pay attention anymore, or if it's a matter of their list, they're just kind of burning out, like I talked about earlier.
I think that's it. I know people whose list complained about their tactics, their techniques, and the fact they didn't really develop any deep relationships with their list members, and those are the people that we don't see promotions from anymore. So I think the stuff we shared with them is the stuff that our listeners need to be doing if they want to be around long term. You can't do promotion after promotion if you send a promotion today saying this is going to do it for you, you can't send another one tomorrow for a different product saying, well, actually this is really the product, because they're like, well, what about the one you just told me I need to buy yesterday that I'm trying to save up the money to get now, trying to pawn my whatever to get the money, So you have to be consistent there too.
What's a I don't know if say let's just basically, I think we've hit a lot of great information.
Right.
Let's leave the listeners with one last thing. What's the most important thing they should take away from this whole talk about relationship building and list building? What do you feel is the most important thing that they should take away from this?
I feel the most important thing they should take away from it is that they need to get started building a list today. I can't tell you the number of people that I talked to 2 or 3 years ago, and their biggest complaint and the biggest excuse was, I have no list. And the majority of those same people today have no list. And you and I just shared with them, with our listeners, a dozen ways to build a list, systematizing things, offering something at a 100% commission or whatever. And so there is no excuse for not having a list. And so my biggest thing is just do it. Stop thinking about it and do it. And then a year from now, you will have a list. But if you don't start doing it, a year from now, you'll be in exactly the same predicament. So that's my big thing.
Yeah, and this is one thing I haven't even released to anyone yet. I'm kind of keeping this a secret, but we did an experiment in our office, and we created a list. We're over 1,500 people, but we did not do it the correct way, and we kind of did it on purpose, because the whole idea is this relationship building. We built a list, and we didn't create that relationship. And when we do mail out, what we're finding is that the sales are not there at all. Sales are horrible, non-existent. And also, we're getting a lot of spam complaints because people maybe don't, because this isn't someone else's name. It's not in my name. It's in someone else's name. So across the board, we kind of did this wrong just to see what would happen, because I'm going to use this as a case study in itself on how not to build lists. So we've just talked about how exactly you should go about building your list, treating your list, how you should form this relationship, how you should brand yourself, how you should put your pictures out there, your videos, your audios. Well, we did it basically the opposite way on this other list, and it's unbelievable how bad the results are. If I would have seen those results when I first started, I probably wouldn't even be in this business right now, because I wouldn't have even been able to pay any bills because there's no money coming in. Even though 1,500, it's not a lot of people, but it's still an okay amount, and it's all fresh, all built within the last 8 months.
Right.
But it's worthless. So yeah, I totally agree with Willie saying get out there, take action, build a list. But also, what I'll leave you with is to do it like how basically copy how Willie's done it. Copy
Excellent.
how he's formed his relationship.
And another thing I've done is you don't just want to build a list. As you're building a relationship, you sort of want to build a tribe or a herd or a following. So another thing I've done is I've actually set up a membership site at the Internet Marketing Inner Circle, which you're a member of, and the whole that to me is another type of list. But it's a list where, because I can get members interacting, it has a greater stickiness than just an email list. That's the power to me of a membership site. I think of them as the same thing, except that the members, because they interact with each other and it's not just me, it's a lot like my cooking list where the members interact with each other. That's what gives it a stickiness, and that's what's going to keep people coming back time after time and buying from me and each other. So you're a member of the Inner Circle, in fact.
Yes, I am.
You're at innercirclemember.jeffdedrick.com because that's what I encourage all of our members to do. That's a branding URL, and it works beautifully.
Well, Willie, if people here, and I recommend everyone, write this down, grab a pen, write this down. How can they get on your newsletter so they can start seeing how you treat your list? How can they go and get on your newsletter?
I appreciate that. They can go to willicrawford.com/blog. That's willicrawford.com/blog. That's my blog where I post back issues of my newsletter or anytime I have something I send out to my list. But there's also a subscribe form there, and so that's an easy way to get in touch with me, and that lets them subscribe via RSS too if they'd like to.
And if any of you want to see how I was talking about, creating a product to capture a list, if you want to go to viralebookexplosion.com, viralebookexplosion.com, and that is a list or a product that I created in March of 2008, and at the 4-month mark, we've had 20,000 members. And totally, I never really set a goal, but I'm very happy. And that list is still growing. I'm still getting anywhere from 50 to 100 people per day. So that definitely works. So follow, go in, register. You get it for free. You don't have to buy anything. You'll see the upsells and all that kind of stuff. But get in, take a look at the affiliate tools. That's been huge in getting the word out. The whole site is set up kind of a viral type site. So get in there and pay attention. Don't get in there as a consumer. Get in there and study it and see how you can use some of those techniques possibly in your list building efforts. Well, Willie, I wanted to thank you. This has been great. This is exactly what I wanted to hear. When the whole idea of relationship list building came up, you were one of the first names that I thought of, and I appreciate everything that you've shared with myself and the listeners today.
I enjoyed doing the call very much, and hope the listeners not only learned a lot, but will actually use what we shared with them.
Great. All right. Well, Willie, hopefully I'll be seeing you soon at a seminar in the near future.
I'm certain we will, and I'm looking forward to listening to the entire product that this is a part of. Thank you.
Great. All right. All right. Everyone that's listening, I want to thank you, and just like Willie said, take action. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.